Welcome everybody. We are at SUNY Erie Community College in Williamsville, New York. They're interviewing Dr. Jennifer Fendinger, and she is a professor and department head of the biotechnological sciences here at the college. And the reason we're here is we have sold them a beautiful Agilent GCMS, which is getting installed. And the reason that they received this instrument is Dr. Jen applied for a Perkins grant and received one. So we at GenTech were curious about this Perkins grant process, and we wanted to interview Dr. Jen and understand how it works, what it is, and how other vocational and community colleges may also apply for this wonderful program. So my understanding is a Perkins grant it's a national program, but it does vary by state. And different states have different regulations and timelines. So we're going to talk about New York, but we're going to have links to the other states and try to give you some background on that. So just to start, and I know you've actually, could you just tell us a quick background, like how long you've been here and sort of what your general job duties are at the college?
So I've been here 2 years in July. I am over the biotechnological science unit. So it includes biotech with cannabis concentration, clinical lab technician, community public health, and the occupational therapy assistant programs. So we purchased the GCMS for the biotech and biotech with cannabis, and we are also hoping to use it for our clinical lab technician programs.
Okay, that's amazing. And then again, you've been in academia for a long time, so kind of a basic question, but do you remember how you even discovered Perkins grants or how you first kind of started interacting with this program?
So when I first came here, they were in the midst of kind of towards the tail end of a Perkins grant year. And so they had gotten things like a new autoclave. They had completely redone all of our labs in terms of new pipettes, they had gotten some of our equipment in our clinical lab technician program. They had gotten a lot of like small things, like new scales, all kinds of things, so that the students all had their own equipment. So they outfitted all the labs so that they have 12 of everything. All new microscopes, everything, so that every student has their own equipment, so they didn't have to wait for, stand in line and waste time and for waiting for equipment. So it really put us, in the future for stuff. And so I was very impressed by that, because before that we had very outdated stuff. And so that was the first time I had been exposed to Perkins. And so apparently it's an every 2 years cycle, at least at this college. And so every 2 years the college decides as a whole what they're going to focus on. That time they were focusing on bringing every lab up to date. And then this iteration, they were focusing on bringing the labs into up to date to industry standards.
Okay. And then you talked a little bit about cannabis, and obviously this college is industry agnostic as well as GenTech. Well, we serve all industries too, but they were particularly open to that because it's like job of the future, right? Or trying to go to a new technology. Did that help at all, you think?
Right. So our program is a science-based program for cannabis. So we are teaching scientists, lab technicians that will do all of the quality control testing and stuff for cannabis. So a lot of the colleges are, as the cannabis space grows, a lot of them are, going into growing or business of cannabis. So we are specifically, this program at least, is specifically the science. And so which makes us a little bit unique. So when we started thinking about what our students need to know, and we we realized that not only the scientific the regular scientific techniques of all the pipetting and all that kind of stuff, then we started to think about the instrumentation. And one of the things that really came up with the GCMS, so that they can test for the terpenes and all that kind of stuff for so that the consumer really knows what they're getting when they purchase something, and if they have any contaminants, pesticides and that kind of stuff. So we started looking at GCMSs, and I thought, oh, we'll never be able to afford something like that because those are obviously very expensive. And at this college, when we purchase something large like that, there's quite a process. We have to go through, we have to get bids from various different places. And and some companies also have contracts with us because we're a county institution. So we have companies that have bids with us or contracts promising that they are the cheapest. While a person that used to work here had a relationship with GenTech, so I originally contacted you. Then the school did say I had to go to Agilent, and when I went to Agilent, they were not in fact the cheapest. And then GenTech also included some other added features that Agilent did not.
Okay. Everyone pay close attention to that last comment. Thank you, Dr. Jen. So just to help understand the process a little better, so if you're someone in Dr. Jen's position, first of all, I want to clarify. So Perkins grants are for community colleges and vocational schools and high schools. So if you're a 4-year college, you cannot apply for a Perkins grant. It's just for that specific genre. And so for the community colleges, they really want to, again, up their chemistry department, and you need some hardcore analytical equipment. And as she referenced, it is quite expensive. Now, if you go with a refurbisher like GenTech, you can expect, 50 to 70% off the OEM pricing. And that's what's going to get you your grant. So what we're trying to say here is, when you're going out to apply for the grants, you can contact GenTech. We will provide you the quotation. It will be for a refurbished instrument with, again, we can talk about installation and service contracts, those kind of items, and then you'll have that powerful piece of paper when you go to Perkins, and you can say, look, I found a really good value, and then you're more likely to get the grant, right? You would say? Because
right.
if you ask for too much, it's a game, right? If you ask for too much, they're going to say access denied.
Right.
Correct.
So they so we ask for a certain amount of money, and then they you tell them what you want to use it for, and then you have to say we have to say what outcomes we expect from it, and and we have to increase whatever outcomes we're having. Like, say we may want to increase the enrollment, or we might want to increase the outcomes of our student population. Maybe we want to increase the grades. Maybe we want to increase the number of jobs that our students get, etc. So we have to state whatever outcomes we have now, and then how much we want to improve those outcomes. And that's all part of the reporting. We have to report various times, and then the final report. Because they want to know that their money is doing something. So some of the outcomes that I stated that for purchasing a GCMS is that the students would get obviously this knowledge, and this is something that the industry had told us in our advisory board meetings for cannabis and for biotechnology, and then so it increases just even though it had not been installed yet, it's just getting installed today, telling prospective students that we have this instrumentation helped us increase our enrollment. And it's also, as the students start to learn this instrumentation, it increases their job prospects, because now they have already trained on this instrumentation that they will see in the field.
That is so awesome. You touched on this a little, but just for our audience, I'm curious. Did you experience any like specific challenges, like with the? I mean, applying for a grant is an arduous process, like we all know that. But did anything like happen that was like extra challenging, or was it pretty much just as long as you're patient and you play the game, you'll eventually get some result?
With the grant process.
Yeah, with this specific one, like just any challenges or anything people should look out for. Oh, we forgot to include 2 competitive bids and it delayed it. Or I'm just trying to think if you had anything that may have, oh, I wish I knew that, or I wish I wouldn't have done it this way.
So the whole grant process is a tremendous team undertaking here at SUNY Erie. We have a grants office. And so we asked for $1 million, and so it goes over several departments. And so we had to write. They call it a CNA report. I think it's a continuous needs assessment report. That so they look. We had to, each department that was asking for money had to provide quite a bit of information about the job market and of their particular department, the job markets, the potential job growth, if our department was underperforming because they needed instrumentation or any kind of equipment, etc. And then the grants department had to compile all this information into a tremendously big report. That's the way that this college does it. And then when it gets submitted, then they might get asked for more information. So this college, if we go to purchase something as large as this, we do have to submit several bids to purchase something this large. So I had to prove that it's, that they may be, whoever I'm purchasing it from is the sole provider of this particular subject, or, this particular object.
Sole source.
Yeah, so you did provide me with one that said that you not only would sell me the product, but you also will, especially since you're local, would be able to service the item. Whereas Agilent could not. They are out in California. They could not service it. And the not only were you cheaper than Agilent, but you included like a whole package of like reagents and stuff, which they did not. So they were quite a bit more expensive, even though they had a refurbished machine also.
Okay.
And they don't always. They just happen to have one. So I was comparing 2 refurbished machines, but there was also a bunch more stuff in the package.
Okay.
And it was like $10,000 cheaper.
Okay.
But so there was, a bunch of kind of sort of a game playing in that way. And then once we, completed that portion, then I just had to get all the pieces in place, which, we had some issues getting that stuff in place just because of stuff that happened,
Yeah. So for our viewers, through no fault of their own, SUNY Erie got hit by a horrible snowstorm, which caused some damage to the roof and some damage to the facilities, and so the installation was delayed slightly because the priority was fixing some of those things, and it took Dr. Jen a second to get some techs into her lab to wire and get the gases in, so that was why that went down the way it did, but that's why they're here today. And so, again, I just want to emphasize with these Perkins grants that, price is a factor. You are playing a little bit of a game, and they do accept refurbished instruments. And so if you're really trying to hit that sweet spot where you're getting instrument you need, but you're able to, keep the grant people happy by staying within a certain budget constraint, to really consider refurbished, and then also no charge for a quote. So, Dr. Jen says the Perkins process here is about a 2-year cycle. So certainly you can reach out to GenTech very early, get your quote, you get a basic sense of what your costs are going to be, and you have that piece of paper when you're going to apply, and we can always update it when it gets closer. But those are services we offer, so please come to us proactively with your analytical instruments, and we can write you up some quotes and help you go through this process as we see that it works. We talked about this a little bit in the hallway, but just for the benefit of our audience, what's next? You guys applying for more grants? Is there more areas you really want to increase in the college specifically, or what's next on the horizon, if anything?
So the second year of this grant cycle, I believe the college is focusing on like simulation with nursing program and things like that. So now I get to think about, for my programs, what should be next. And I'm thinking about some more, so in my clinical lab tech program, my students are required to have 700 hours of clinical hours. They do 100 of that out in the field. The rest they do here at the college in their laboratories. So we do a lot of simulation. So we have a lot of instrumentation in the labs as the instructors do a lot of that simulation where we get lab samples from area hospitals, and then they mock those up and they run them just like they would a patient sample. So some of those instrumentation in the labs I do need to upgrade. So I will be looking at things like that.
Okay. That's great. Great example. Anything you want to tell some administrator or professor who's thinking about applying for Perkins grant but maybe hasn't before? Any words of wisdom or encouragement for those, or maybe even someone in the high school arena who's like, hey, we could really use an x-ray machine for our nursing program or something like that?
Well, I mean, if you don't ask, you can't get it. So the guy that had in my department that had written the proposal the year that I had come in, he said, listen, we had never done it before, so we thought, well, we'll just ask for everything and see what they say. And to his surprise, they agreed with everything. So they had gotten like $200,000 of new equipment. And so then we're like, well, let's just ask for more, and because in the laboratories, at least, people tend to be pretty conservative and like, oh, I don't know if we deserve this, but we're like, well, let's just start asking, because it does increase our enrollment, it does increase our prestige in the community, and just keep being persistent and explaining your case, because in any of the lab fields, whether it be biotech, cannabis, clinical lab tech, nobody knows what we do because we're always behind the scenes. And so nobody can advocate for us better than we can. So if we don't start speaking up and asking for what we need and explaining why we need it, then we're never gonna get it. So there's the worst they can do is say no.
Yep. So just to summarize, advocate for your department, advocate for your students, advocate for the equipment you need. If you don't ask, you won't get it. There are resources available, such as Perkins grants and other National Science Foundation. There's tons of stuff. And here we have a very successful case of it being executed well. So don't be discouraged out there, administrators. Keep fighting for your departments and your equipment. And we're here to help.